Welcome everyone to the second European Convention of Family-Friendly Municipalities, this time titled Moving Towards Family-Friendly Europe. I hope everyone is well, calmly and cozily stacked up wherever you happen to be, and are happy to follow the convention today. This is a second convention, first of which was held in 2019 in Brussels. Well, today it happens everywhere where you are. So thank you for joining us on this online convention, talking about family-friendly municipalities and moving towards a more family-friendly Europe. My name is Kristen and I will be a moderator for today and tomorrow, guiding you through our presentations, our panels and everything along with that. The objectives of today and tomorrow is to firstly promote the network of family-friendly municipalities. Secondly, to exchange good practice between countries, so to see everyone here and hear different lessons, practices, and possibilities that people have tried and municipalities have tried. Also to support municipalities in implementing family policies to create a more family-friendly Europe around us. And lastly, to protect the interests of families. So boiling down to the basics. This convention is organized by the Family-Friendly Municipalities and European Large Families Confederation, and also in cooperation with Estonian Association of Large Families. Today's conference and tomorrow's convention is supported by the Ministry of Social Affairs in Estonia. So today we will look at several general topics about family-friendly municipalities. What is family-friendly, how municipalities are part of that, and how all of it connects with state level as well. Tomorrow we will look more closely on specific examples, practices, which different municipalities can also adopt on their own. I would like to remind you that if you're watching us from the YouTube stream or Facebook streams, then if you ask questions on the comment section, these questions can be relayed to the presenters as well. So please feel free to be as engaged as this online platform allows us to be, thus giving lots of comments and feedback on those Facebook or YouTube live comment sections. When you feel that this is what you want to ask or add to the discussion, be sure to post that, and I can then ask or relay these messages to our presenters. But enough about me. Today's conference is opened or started with two different opening words. So without much further ado, I would like to welcome Aage Õunap, who is the president of the Estonian Association of Large Families.
Hello, dear listeners and participants of Second European Convention of Family-Friendly Municipalities. I am honored to open the convention and delighted to listen to all the speakers from different parts of Europe. Yesterday, on the 23rd of March, the Estonian Association of Large Families celebrated its 25th anniversary. We are thankful for getting the opportunity to organize the International Convention in the Jubilee year. Today, our network includes 1,800 families with 4 or more children, with a total of more than 8,500 children. Our main goal is to increase the well-being and positive reputation of Estonian families with many children in cooperation with our member organizations at both the local and national level. Our wish is that large families feel valued in society and financially secure. Thank you the board of ELFAC, Resina Marancelli and Raul Sanchez for trusting us in organizing the convention and walking the path together with us. I hope that the convention will motivate local governments and policy makers in Estonia and other countries to take calculated steps towards creating a more family-friendly society. Children are our future. Thank you.
Thank you to Aga Unap, and secondly, to open up our convention today, I welcome Regina Maroncelli, who is the president of ELFAC and of the European Network of Family-Friendly Municipalities.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this convention. I would like to thank you, first of all, the Estonian government for its commitment to these topics. And of course, Age Unap, president of the Estonian Large Family Association, for her efforts, and congratulations for your association and what you do and what you are doing. Today we talk about the network of European municipalities, which are called family-friendly. This network is not a project for large families. It is for all families, with children, for young people, for the elderly. It is for people. It is about the quality of life and the well-being. And of course, where a large family is all right, everybody can be all right. I think this project can give a very good frame of a sense of meaning also to administrations that are looking for a better way to give their citizens a better life. So welcome, thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you. And thank you for these opening words. So here we go, I guess. We welcomed several presentations over the course of today and tomorrow from different perspectives about the overall topic of family-friendly municipalities and family-friendly lives or countries or local governments around us. We are starting off today with the Minister of Social Protection of Estonia, Signe Riisalo. She will convey the idea of state partnership. States usually wish to be both supporters and partners of local municipalities to understand the specific needs large families have. So the goal for the new years or the coming years is to map out the actual need of assistance for local governments and thus provide this support to local governments from the state sector.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, I'm very honored to be here with you, but it's a bit weird also to see each other via internet. And I really believe that in very soon time we can meet each other face to face like we used to. So let's try again via internet to hold this conference and have a good and informative time for all of us. I would like to add that COVID-19 pandemic has been difficult, especially for the women and also for the parents, mothers and fathers of the children. Very often the parents has to stay home to work at home, but also take care of the children who can't go to the kindergarten or to the school. This is double pressure for the parents, and it's really hard to handle. At the same time, women who are also mothers suffer all over the world because of the loss of the work or income. The reason is that most the pandemic hit most to these areas where women really work. We can talk about tourism or some other areas, but also women, our mothers, very often work as a caregivers in kindergartens. They are teachers in the kindergarten or at schools. They are working in the healthcare system, and it's hard to share yourself between the children, family, and the work. Now I would like to thank you, the organizers, and of course Mrs. Age Unap and Regina Marcinelli, Thank you for the kind words. And I try now to share my screen. Hope it will go smoothly. Okay. So I hope now you see my screen. Okay, and today I would like to speak a bit. Yes.
We cannot see your screen, unfortunately.
Oh, sorry. So I have to do something. Yeah. But what about now?
No, not as well.
We try to do that, but for some reason, okay, I go really back to the beginning.
Well, these things are part of online conferences.
Hello,
So
I'm
I'm
just
doing
going to
it.
step in really fast. Signa, if you press share button down there.
Yes, I have done that. Sorry.
Share screen.
I have done. Yes, I have done that several times. So.
And then the whole screen, kogu ekraan.
Yes, I'm doing that. Okay. Well, what about now? Do you see my screen?
No, we don't see it now.
I do exactly what we try to do and what you are telling right now.
No, it's here. No, it's here.
No, it's here. Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry. But let's try to go further and not waste the time. Okay. State and local government cooperation for the family welfare. And of course, the whole idea is to make better life for the families with children. This is our agenda in Estonia and has been for many years already. Since 2010, we have a special national children's and families agenda we follow, and we also got new family law, Child Protection Act 2016. Those steps were very important because first in our history, childcare and families' well-being came into public agenda for the politicians as well. And we are very happy because especially these two steps helped us to improve different support methods to the families and children. But the priority areas, what we do have right now, first of all, children with special needs. We are working on reform to support, to make support system for these children and families more smooth. We have different areas like social welfare, child protection, education, and also healthcare. And from each system, the child and family has to apply a piece of help. And it's not very convenient for the children and families, and also it's not very good system for the state as well. That's why we are cooperating with several ministers right now to get a really good system where the family with the child has to enter into the system once and get the whole package of support and benefits through that one window. Then the other important area is family-based replacement care, which is also the goal for many years already, but we are still facing the problem that there is not enough foster care families, and we still have to place children without parental care to the institutions. Yes, to be honest, is institution in Estonia is absolutely different place we used to think about. They are small family houses for not more than 6 children who are living their everyday life like in a family, but still this is institution and we have to go further. One very important new method to help families and parents who do not live together and do not raise children together is family mediation. Again, long discussions has been taken, but now we see the end of that work, and in very near future the law will go to the government to help families find solutions to raise their children together, even the families do not live together anymore. Mental health issues are most important for the whole society, but also for the parents and children. I take more exact speech later on. Sexually abused children is a huge agenda right now in Estonia, and we are running discussions to make some changes in the law. But we do have a very good service, which is evidence-based children's house, known in whole Europe. We do have a free special children house places in Estonia, but we still need one more at least to the western part of Estonia. And of course, I tell you a bit more about Family Benefits Act and new issues there. Family policy measures for families with children. I do not want to share a lot of figures with you. You can go into this later, but what is important is to point out that there has been some changes, and the most important change what we want to point out are the changes in Family Benefits Acts. So since 2019, we changed the system how we calculate the parental benefit. So to make it more convenient and smooth for the families, we started to calculate the income, the parental benefit amount 12 months before the pregnancy. So it gives to young mothers and also fathers, in fact, more equal possibility to get to have income when they are on the parental leave. We gave 20 days parental leave for fathers, which they can use, and this is something new since last year. We improve the recognition of family and working life. Families can make use of their parental benefits with a period of 3 years. It used to be 1.5 years before, but it doesn't mean that they will give more parental leave days, they just can take it out in the time it's more suitable for the families. What is also new and also important, we do not want that the mothers get very far from the labor market. So during the parental leave, getting parental benefit, they also can receive some income if they earn money and doing something. This is limited, but it's still one method to keep mothers involved on the labor market and make it more smooth to come back when the child is older already. For the families who have period between two births less than 3 years, they can keep the same amount of the parental benefit they used to get before. That period was before 2.5 years, but we made it longer to support families. In addition, we have a possibility to get home support from Credex, which is maximum amount 10,000 euros. It used to be 8,000 per applicant before. So it's maybe a small step, but not taking small steps, we never take the huge steps. Then one also important change is that we do have maintenance allowance for those parents who raise a child alone and the other parent do not pay the maintenance for the child. Then we do have allowance for supporting these children. And the period to apply that allowance was up to 5 months before. Now we changed the law and it can't be longer than 2 months, which is huge help for the families, of course. Mental health, as I told, it's a huge issue, especially now during the COVID-19 pandemic, and we see how dramatically it affects to the people and also children. We do not have very good researches what has been changed during the year with youth and children, but we know that the number of children who need rehabilitation services and who asked for appointment to the psychologist or psychiatrist has been raised dramatically. But we know more about grown-ups, and research took place last year shows us that at least 46% of grown-up population felt symptoms of depression. And we also know that mental illness has been 2 to 3 times more than 10 years ago. Of course, there could be more reasons, but we know exactly that the COVID pandemic has been one of the reasons. We started a special work last week in Estonia to find out measures to help the mental health crisis in the society. And one very important step we took, this is extra million euros to the medical care and psychological help, but also helplines and other services has been improved, and we are working together with the third sector as well as with universities. State and local government cooperation is very important. In Estonia, the whole system is built up so that municipality is independent, and municipality has to take care of the local life issues. And the local life, of course, are social services for the families with children. During that pandemic period, we has seen that there is a lack of extra services for the families who stood at home with children who can't go kindergarten or school. So that's why we submitted 15 million euros extra that year to the municipalities to give more support to the families and families with children. But mostly what the cooperation means, it means that we do have a social insurance board who is trying to give guidelines and also evidence-based knowledge and services what the municipalities can use. And I should repeat that municipality is still independent to organize the support on the local level by themselves. What we want to do in the cooperation with the municipalities, this is family services centers. And I'm glad to say that in 3 municipalities we do have such a center for the parents and young children. And this is so far built up with the initiative from the municipality and third sector. But we believe this is very important to support municipalities with the money as well. And we want to see that in most municipalities we will have in future such family services for the families and small children or young children. This is evidence-based, a model from the Sweden family houses, and we believe that this is also good solution for Estonia. I explained a bit already about the reform for children with special needs, but I have to submit that the reform is not only for those 10,000 children who are with disability. This is for much more children, because we want to see children with special needs also in the education system, and also when the special need is only periodical or one-time need. So the number of children who benefit from that reform is much, much bigger. And of course, that must be support for the families with the children. Because in my dreams, the support system should go to the place where the child lives or goes to school, so that the family and parents can follow what services through the school or through the kindergarten their children really receive. Looking the clock as well, and I have to say thank you for the Association of the Large Families in Estonia. As we heard already, they had a birthday yesterday, and I'm happy with them. They have been a very strong partner for the state through these years, and I really hope that the cooperation with them will be good in the future as well. Of course, to keep in our minds that number of children is something what we should appreciate and see as a value. I think that these values in Estonia has been changed a lot already. And I see that children and families with the children are much more seen in our society, but working together with different NGOs, but especially with Large Families Association, I think that we can go further. And I will stop here, looking to the watch, and give you possibility to ask questions from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you for the presentation. We are very honored and happy that you could join us this morning. Just a reminder for the audience that you have very successfully found the comment section, and be sure to ask questions as well that we can then ask the presenters. However, listening to your presentation, I do have a few things to ask. So you also mentioned the COVID pandemic and the situation we are here right now. Obviously, this cannot be overlooked. Large families are a target group that probably faces a lot of challenges during this pandemic. How do you see what the state can do, and what is Estonia's experience in supporting these families in this situation today?
Mm-hmm. As the topic was cooperation between state and local government, then I believe that, always helping families is possible only in the place they really are and where they face the problem. And that's why we have a special support right now. This is 15 million euros for the municipalities to support the families, and we will give also guidelines to the municipalities what target groups and what problems should be faced and pointed out mostly. And one of those issues is families with children. And of course, families who have to stay home and take care of smaller children, children in kindergarten age or only started school. Those children need guidance all over the day. They can't be left alone. So the parents should get help and services, different services. And this is up to the municipality, what they exactly do. From the state level, we also try to coordinate better mental health services, and there is services directly to the families, and there are services which are helplines, which is more maybe anonymous and not so direct help. But first level medical care is also where we give more financial resources to get help from clinical psychologists.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is definitely an important subject, and you received several comments on the comment section as well, greeting and thanking the Estonian approach, for example, on mental health as well. So thank you for that, and thank you for joining us this morning. We do, however, need to move on. So thank you, Signe Riisalu, for your presentation. We now are moving on to Dagmar Kutser, who is a professor of social policy at University of Tartu. And her research mainly focuses on well-being of children and families. And thus her presentation today will be about children's subjective well-being and what we can learn from children's perspectives. So it will discuss those subjective assessments that children have on their lives and comparing several countries in that. Also focusing a bit about COVID-19 pandemic, as probably that cannot be overlooked. So thank you, Dagmar Kutser, for joining us, and welcome.
Hello to everybody. I try the same what my previous speaker tried. So is it seen now? Can you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Thank you for actually for inviting me to speak about children, because family-friendly municipalities can't be without family-friendly children. And this is important to ask from children about how they are doing, because what they speak may not be the same what adults expect. What is child well-being? When you think of this term, then you can understand that this is something very simple, and you can define it easily. But actually, there are several terms that are used, like satisfaction or happiness or welfare or quality of life. So, and here you can see one photo of two girls. Are they happy? Are they satisfied with their lives? Or how do you recognize a happy child? Does a happy child live in a rich country and not in a poor country? Can children at the wartime, can they be happy? Does a happy child live with loving parents, or have many friends, or have goals in life? We have no answers without asking from children. We just can think of them, what can make them happy, but we don't know what it is. Here, if to ask from adults how satisfied they are with life, then really we can see on this figure that more happy adults live in richer countries. Are also children in richer countries more satisfied with their lives if to compare with not so rich countries? Let's ask from children internationally. And there is one really high quality representative international study called Children's Worlds. It asked from 8, 10 and 12 years old children about their well-being, about different aspects of it. And here you can see the comparison of 10 years old children with 12 years old children. As you can see that in general, children are satisfied. They are very satisfied with their lives, as they put 10 points on the scale from 0 to 10. However, you can't see the same trend that happier children live in more wealthy societies. You can also see the trend that is universal in all the sample countries, that overall satisfaction with life is decreasing with age. But the decrease is going with different speed. For example, in case of Albania, Romania, and Belgium, the change is not big, while in Estonia, Finland, and Poland, 12 years old children who put maximum points to their life satisfaction has decreased a lot. So there is a big change. So we can see that the world, the country richness and the children being happy don't go hand in hand. There is no relationship between the country's wealth and children's subjective well-being. This means that there should be other things that matter in children's lives. Why not to ask from them? What makes a child happy? What are the sources, the personal sources of subjective well-being? Here is one of the drawings of a 12 years old child. And you can see that the child is the most important person on this drawing. But also what is important is privacy, technology, and also attitude and appearance, and how you look, and what do you think about yourself? Of course, friends are very important, and also family. Not forgetting of the pet, that is also a very important person. And also school environment. For example, child is happy when he or she receives good marks. We can imagine a child as in a center of some imaginary society, and the child lives in microspace. There are meso layers and micro, and also chrono layers of the society that functions, and the child has relationships, the direct or indirect connections with these different environments, like school or like policies, or also time and space concerns. But children have unequal resources of being happy. They have different individual characteristics. They may have disabilities or chronic illnesses. They have different networks, different relationships with other people, in their family, in the society, in a broader sense. And what is important not to forget is that child well-being is here and now. Child will be a future adult, that's true, but it's even more important what happens to the child's life here and now, today. So child well-being is an interactive process where the child takes an active role. And now let's ask about children about their relationships. And let's focus on families, as the topic is family-friendly municipalities of this convention. There are people in my family who care about me. You can see that children from different countries agree on this. They feel that family offers closeness and a feeling of being cared and loved. Again, I put on the figure the maximum points, 10 points marked by children on the scale from 0 to 10. If I have a problem, people in my family will help me. You can see again that family can offer feeling of safe when there is a problem. Can offer also protection. But here you can also see some diversity. We have to go back to children and ask what the problem, why they put such lower grades, for example, in Russia, Germany, or Finland, compared to Spain or Albania or Poland. My parents listen to me and take what I say into account. Here, children turn to be most critical. And when you look at this graph, then you can see that 12 years old children are more critical than younger children, how much they are listened to and taken into account. And this is the case especially in Poland, Germany, Russia, Estonia, and Wales. Thus, parenting resources are very, very important. Unfortunately, parents have unequal resources of being good parents. From the society's perspective, family is doing well when meeting the needs of its members and being valued in the society. But again, if we imagine the positions of families in some society, then some of them are doing better than the others. This means that there are several individual and structural determinants of well-being of families. This means the health and educational level of family members. This also means socioeconomic performance. For example, do they have connection with a labor market, and how can they perform their family roles, for example, doing the family, including parenting skills? What are their external resources around, like social capital and neighborhood networks, who can help them when they have a problem? But also, again, the health of the society, in which situation, in general, this society or this country is in the moment, and what are the political choices. This also very much impacts how the families are doing. Now about the COVID impact. We collected data in Estonia, Canada, and Switzerland during the lockdown in 2020 from children. And we made a conclusion that facing the COVID-19 pandemic, all societies are universally vulnerable and their health is at stake. From the children's perspective, first, their inequality between children is now increasing. For example, in economic dimension, overnight there was a new need owning necessary things. For example, devices for distance learning. They have different opportunities of being physically active. For example, in rural setting or urban children, with a child living in a block house, or rural children having fields around and can be much more physically active, or whether sports can go on Zoom. That's also important and makes differences between children. There are very diverse patterns of relationships between family members. What children brought out, it was more time to stay together with their parents, more quality time. So the pandemic can also uncover some positive sides. In educational terms, distance learning put children's self-efficacy and self-determination skills to test. Some children really enjoy distance learning, the others can't. And also social dimension also divides children. Children differ by communication opportunities to keep contacts with significant people. And last and not least, what actually did we learn from children? We can imagine that families in a society take different positions on this imaginary society. There are some that are very successful and their children are very happy and they can cope with also with this COVID situation. And there are others who are not so effective. They have maybe diverse parenting skills, not so good parenting skills. Maybe they have very difficult family structure that goes beyond the household frame. And maybe they have lost their jobs. So that families can move here and there with some support, what they receive from their closer environment, from their networks, but also from local municipalities and also from the government. Now we can imagine that these children living in these families that take different positions in this society, they have also different so-called glass ceiling of their opportunities. This means that not all children can reach their goals because of maybe not having, the family does not have so much resources to make it. Thus, this is glass ceiling that you can see through, but you can't aspire more than your resources around what is affordable. And from the other point of view, we can imagine that these children and these families are also standing on a glass floor. And as you know, glass is a fragile material and it can break. If something really serious happens, for example, the parents or the parent leave or leave the labor market, for example, lose a job, or some of the family members needs more care, is ill or disabled. And then the whole family falls through this glass ceiling, this level of coping. And again, there is a rising need for support from outside. And now don't remember that the child's well-being is found today, here and now. And this is like a building block for future. Providing good childhood also is a good guarantee for happy adulthood. And children here and now are very active with contributing to their own well-being. When being well supported by family and also child-friendly municipalities, children can lift up their goals. This means that their glass ceilings can be lifted as well, and they may not fall through an imaginary glass floor in case it breaks. So what I am talking now, what is my hint behind, is that there are many political choices and there are agendas on policymakers' desks. In our previous presentation, you have heard already several decisions that the Estonian government has made and what they are planning to do to support children and families, and that's very okay. But there are still many other opportunities. I believe in this, that you can also speak about and discuss during this conference what the family-friendly municipalities actually mean and what the family-friendly municipalities could organize and what decision could be made in case also children are not forgotten. Here I would like to finish and I am open to questions.
Thank you, Professor Kutsar. So we have a question from the audience. So a question about whether you can appreciate any difference in happiness of children over time. Is there historical trends that can be seen?
This is a very, very new field of knowledge in the world. Asking from children about their well-being, this may sound very unbelievable, but this is the case because this new understanding of children and childhood was started to develop together with the UN Children's Rights Convention that was accepted in 1989 and accepted in Estonia in 1991. Asking children about their subjective well-being goes back to the start of 2010, and now we have 2 times of asking from children about their well-being. It was in 2013 and in 2018. So we can see the trends, but not so much yet. But there are also 2 other studies that you can follow the trends as well as fresh trends again. This is PISA test that started to ask about children's satisfaction and different aspects. The new part was included about this in 2015. And there is another study. This is school health behavior of school children by OECD. This is HIBCD, so as an acronym. And it goes a bit further back to history, but not very much.
Thank you. We have another quick question. So someone from the audience is asking whether you think lowering children voting age is something that could help in this topic.
Actually, I am very happy because in Estonia, local government elections, already 16 years old children can attend, and I am really proud of that. Because, but still there is much to go, because children should be left space to feel more to be citizens. And what is really a shortage is how much children are listened to, or how much they are asked. For example, when you design your bus schedule, do you ask from children whether they can attend their hobby school? And because this bus schedule gives this opportunity to go back home in the evening. It's or do you ask from children what they need on their playgrounds, especially in teams? Because playgrounds for small children, this is quite okay. But where can teenagers meet? Now just they hang in malls.
Thank you. This is a really fascinating subject, and thank you for opening this up for this convention today. We are moving on from this now, and we are going to look at Sustainable Development Goals. So next we have Cyracusa, who is the team leader of the Joint Research Centre's project on localizing Sustainable Development Goals. In the Urban and Territorial Development Unit, she mainly focuses on knowledge support to urban policies and helping European cities monitor and reach Sustainable Development Goals.
Good morning, and thank you very much for the invitation. I hope you can hear me well. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present the work that the European Commission, and in particular the Joint Research Centre, is doing to support local governments, and in particular municipalities, to achieve sustainable development. So my presentation today really fits into the topic of municipality that are family friendly, because of course has been pointed out during the very first intervention, a city and a municipality that works for a family works for everybody. And I would like to point out some of the links with the Sustainable Development Goals and the 2030 Agenda with the goals of municipality that want to be more sustainable in a broader sense. So I will start sharing my screen now, and hopefully you can see it full screen in a few seconds. So first of all, yes. So my presentation today will focus on one specific tool that we have been developing at the JRC, but before maybe I will explain what is the Joint Research Centre and what is its mission. The Joint Research Centre is the science and knowledge service of the Commission, and most of the staff here are researchers, as myself, and our mission is to support EU policies with independent evidence throughout the whole policy cycle of the European Union. We are based in several countries, and I'm speaking today from the site in Seville in Spain. The content of this presentation is split in, let's say, 4 parts. The first one is to explain a little bit what do we mean by localization of the 2030 Agenda and the SDGs, and what does it mean to monitor the achievement of the SDG at local scale. I will present then the European Handbook, and in conclusion, I will explain how we are moving forward and what still needs to be done. And it's a lot, of course. So first of all, what do we mean by localizing the 2030 Agenda and the SDGs? The 2030 Agenda has been adopted by 193 countries in 2015, and as most of you probably know, it's not only for developing countries. It's an agenda that promotes an holistic approach to sustainable development. In particular, it's focused on 5 pillars: people, planet, peace, prosperity, and partnership. And this gives you already an idea of the complexity and the interlinkages of the agenda itself. But more specifically, the agenda is built with around 17 goals and 169 targets, specific targets. One of the goals in particular is devoted to cities and communities and calls for inclusive, safe, resilience, and sustainable cities and community. So these 4 words, these 4 characteristics are really key, and this is where I see the connection with the goals of the family-friendly municipalities, because if you can achieve an inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable city, you can really include in this definition families. But of course, the goal is not only about cities, but in the 17 goals, you can really find all the different aspects of sustainable development, from poverty to hunger to health to education, gender equality, and all the ones that you see illustrated here. One thing that, in my perspective, is missing or hidden, and this is unfortunate, but can be worked on is more specifically one goal on culture, which for many European cities in particular, it's very, very important. But it can be found, of course, in different aspects of the different goals. So what does it mean localizing the SDGs? It means to define, implement, and monitoring strategies at local level that are able to translate the development agenda into local results. Who localize the SDGs? Of course, local governments and institutions, but also academia and research institutions, civil society in general, religious and community organization, and of course also private sector. So we have to go over the idea that localizing a political agenda is always only a task for local governments or for political bodies. The different activities that city can be carried out regarding the SDGs have been developed in the last 6 years, 5-6 years since the adoption of the agenda. I would say in 3 different levels. The first level is the awareness raising, in which you can have involvement of cities and awareness of cities department about the agenda and the SDGs. The second level, which is requires more commitment and work, is the mapping exercise, in which the different activities of the city department or actors are mapped and linked to the SDGs. And the third one is the voluntary local review, in which cities try to measure the achievement of the different goals or targets. And it's also part of a global movement that I will illustrate in a few moments, and allows peer-to-peer learning. The fourth and final step is to have the full alignment of the SDG into the city strategic plans or the different actions that the municipality can run. Today, in our work focus on the voluntary local reviews, but I wanted to give you the idea of the different activities and engagement levels that city and municipalities can achieve. So what does it mean to have a local monitoring of the SDGs? First of all, we have to refer to the SDGs themselves, because the 169 targets comes with a set of indicators that are for national countries. So the voluntary review is basically a tool that allows city to assess the achievement versus the SDG, but translating the global system designed at country level into the local one. And it has been demonstrated that the local statistical capacity to collect that, the monitor and evaluate the SDGs are really a critical element for the implementation of the agenda itself. It has been estimated that 68% of the SD targets can only be achieved with the engagement of municipalities and local governments. This translation of the indicator set from the national to the local level requires, of course, quite a methodological work to translate these 231 unique indicators that have been identified by member states, by countries, and that are annually reported globally. Probably you have seen the Sustainable Development Goals report, into something that is more local. So the idea is to, in a way, translate what member state committed to do to report periodically about the implementation of the agenda into the local. In last year, 47 countries report about the implementation and the action on the SDGs, but also cities have started to do it. But how? Looking at what materials? There are some very brief, like 6-7 pages guidelines, but also some cities that have been already doing this, like Helsinki, Bristol, Los Angeles, or also in Latin America, there are many examples. And also there were some materials. This is the status of cities that have been reporting about the implementation of the SDG up to now. And I'm happy to notice that today we have Cascais in Portugal present. Cascais is one of the cities that reported about the SDGs. So as you see, Europe is one of the regions in the world where there are more concentrated, there are more examples of VLRs, of voluntary local reviews. So these reviews are usually composed by these building blocks. There is an opening statement, an introduction, there is the illustration of highlights and the institutional process, but the core is the review of the SDGs, of course, which include a statistical portrait of the process, but also qualitative examples of projects and initiatives that are able to link different SDGs and different targets and be really transformative and led to a step forward in the achievement of the goals or the targets. So what we have been doing was an attempt to really support European cities that were willing to take this effort and to build and produce a voluntary local review, which was very important for many reasons. The benefit of producing a voluntary review are both internal and external. The internal ones are linked to the cooperation among different cities departments that have to cooperate to write the report. But also the data enables to highlight gaps and areas where more work is needed to concentrate the efforts. Externally, of course, there are the benefits of being accountable and report about the action of the administration for sake of transparency, but also to engage in a discussion based on data and, let's say, scientific production. So what we have been doing, we produce a European handbook for SDG voluntary review, which is quite, you see it here, is quite a substantive publication. The handbook aims at supporting European cities that are willing to produce their reviews, offering a framework for the selection of appropriate indicators that enables to tailor the reviews to the local context, but also in a way to also ensure comparability among cities. Because in Europe, we are lucky enough to have some data sets that enables to have comparable data. The handbook has 3 parts. The first one introduces what is the local monitoring of the SDGs. The second one is about the indicators for SDG in Europe. And the third part reports about the state of art of ELRs at the time of the publication and the work to be done and some technical aspects. So the core part is the second, as you understand, and it's about the illustration of 71 example indicators that are both official and experimentals, because we had, of course, the experience of not being able to find indicators at local scale that were harmonized and comparable for all European cities. So we introduced also some experimental ones that, of course, rely on scientific publication and work. Some of the indicators are aligned with the ones proposed by the UN Global Framework and the Eurostat framework. And they come from many different sources. Here you see some of the ones that are more representative. Of course, there are indicators computed by us, by the JRC, but also indicators from published by Eurostat, OECD, the European environmental agencies, and DG Regio. And also other sources come from examples from national statistical offices, local administration, NGOs, and universities. How we select this indicator, and this, I think, it's the most important message for me to present today. What are the elements that we took into account? The first one was to look at the SDGs, the goal itself. The second element was to try to understand the value of the SDG in the European context. What does it mean poverty in Europe? As you can imagine, it can be very different from what does it mean to be poor in Africa. The other element was the relevance of the goal for cities. And this is very important because some of the goals, and especially regarding the competence of cities or local governments, municipality, vary a lot from the country level, of course. So when choosing the indicator, we had different priorities. The first one was to try to find harmonized official indicators, so to make the job of municipality as much as easier as possible. The second choice was to have not harmonized, but official indicators, maybe indicators that are produced by, are collected by national statistical offices, for example, but that are not harmonized in a European data set. And I will show you some example. The third one was to look at harmonized experimental indicators, like the one produced by the JRC, for example, and then to have also example of non-harmonized experimental indicators. Choosing these examples, we always try to keep in mind the three main dimensions of sustainability, so the social, environmental, and economic dimension, to have a set of examples of indicators that can provide a broader spectrum of different challenges and gaps. How the manual is designed, for every goal we have an introduction of 2 pages in which we describe the goal, the European dimension, and the local dimension, so the 3 elements that we kept in mind choosing the indicators. And then every indicator is illustrated in the most easiest but accurate way. So on the left hand, you always have the goal and the type of indicator and the link to the other SDGs. You find a list of graphic elements that reports about the alignment with the different lists, the coverage, the level of aggregation, and also the availability for how many cities this indicator is available. In the central part, in the text, you find the description, some insight on how this indicator is measured in the European context, and the comments and limitation. And on the right hand, you find the metadata, the more technical parts, elements. So in this case, I put a few examples here to give you an idea. For the goal number 5, the gender equality goal, we selected the gender employment gap. This is an indicator that is available for 600 cities and greatest cities in Europe and is made available by Eurostat. So harmonized, comparable official indicators with long time coverage as well, in which you can measure also trends over time. The second example is access to public transport. This is an indicator that is not official, but is harmonized, is calculated by DG Regio for more than 400 cities, and enables to measure the access to public transport, meaning people that have access to public transit stop within walking distance from their home. And of course, this kind of indicator is linked also to health, but also to access to job and inequalities. As you know, access to public transport is one of the key elements of also having a livable cities within walking distance, etc. The third example that I included here is the local recycling rates. We included in the goal 12 because even though it's in the official list, it's in goal 11, we thought that this is one of the key indicators for municipalities to measure the achievement of responsible consumption and production, so goal 12. This is a typical example of an indicator that most municipalities have or can get from their local company. But in this case, we proposed the example of coming from Port Data for all Portuguese municipalities, because it's one of the few European platforms in which you can find the same indicator aggregated at municipal level, provincial level, regional level, and national level, in which you can also appreciate the differences in performance and achievements and compare with the province, for example, or the region. So you can really appreciate how local action have been boosted, for example, the local recycling rate. I have a few minutes to conclude, so I'm getting to the final part, what we are working on now. The handbook has been downloaded more than 11,000 times, so we know that this work was needed, but we have to test the use of the handbook. So we are working with a number of cities with specific trainings, ad hoc research, peer-to-peer learning, and organizing expert group meetings on the handbook, but especially on the local monitoring to improve the methodology and the examples. We cooperate with a number of external partners that are city networks, but also UN agencies, and we are working to review this handbook, because we understand that many of the indicators can be improved, or we can have additional ones. So happy to announce that we will launch the second handbook at the next World Urban Forum in Katowice in Poland in June 2022. This handbook will include a more extensive analysis of published reviews, but also the experience that we run with the pilot countries. Pilot cities for this project, which is called Urban 2030. And of course, we look forward to cooperate with more cities that are willing to implement this methodology, but also to test the use of the indicators by themselves and provide us with feedback. I put all the references of the materials here, and I thank you very much for your attention, and I welcome any comments or questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this presentation. So I would like to ask, you spoke a lot about this voluntary local review and how it would be good for municipalities to do that, and how you're working on motivating them doing so and giving them resources. What are the main challenges with talking to local municipalities? Do you get a lot of sort of support, or do you feel sometimes you get resistance in that as well?
I would say that the cities that approach us or that we get in contact most of the time had a minimum level of awareness about the SDGs, and also a minimum level of willing and availability to work with us. Of course, one of the everyone could say that the main issue is financial resources, time or capacity to devote to something that is not compulsory, that is something that only internally will benefit, but is not required by law. But I would say, on the other hand, that this, of course, is a constraint. On the other hand, the main obstacle is really the cooperation among different departments. But this is very common also for other exercises. At the same time, it's really to put everyone around the table, understand what is the added value to make this additional work, and how then policy and action plans can benefit from this work. So making an extra effort at the beginning to then get benefit after. For example, understanding the different, how the different topics or actions are linked to each other. What are the spillover effects? What if you improve something on education and then you get benefit about deployment, but maybe you measure it after some time. So these are all things that, of course, need to be presented and well understood by the administration and promoted internally at the administration. Of course, then there is also the issue to communicate to citizens why you are doing this. This is an extra level of complexity, but every city that have been engaging with that, it has been very happy about it and report about the value of it. So up to now, we have only positive cases to bring to the table, but we hope to have more cities engaged with us, of course.
Thank you. We have one quick question from the audience as well. Do you think these indicators can help a municipality to measure outcomes of their choice to whether to become part of the family-friendly network?
Yes, I think it is definitely possible, especially because the example that we put in the handbook, as I say, are examples. So let's say we propose a backbone of indicators, minimum requirement, but every local voluntary review should be tailored to the local context and to the local needs. So you can always try to complement with specific indicators that, or specific data that the local administration is able to collect. And it's important to highlight that these are not not necessarily need to be official, as I say, but you can also use, the municipality can also benefit of work done, for example, by NGOs or by the local university or research centers or the chambers of commerce or the in different education department, transport department, the different private sector that is willing to contribute with information. So definitely, I think that there is a way to measure it. I hope that, of course, the benefit will be visible. It only requires a little bit of guidance on how to choose the indicator and how to frame them, but it definitely could provide a lot of benefit. Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation, and definitely thank you for your work on developing the handbook and everything that goes with that.
Thank
so.
you.
The last presentation of today, but don't worry, we have a full set for tomorrow prepared for you as well. The last presentation of today before a panel that we're also going to have will now focus on the saturation of the existing territorial capital. We have Luciano Malfer, who is the General Director of Agency for Family and Youth in the Autonomous Province of Trento, and he will focus on saturation of services, so how to offer more opportunities to families and increase territorial attractiveness without further economic measures. So welcome, and thank you for your input. Excuse me, sorry. We need to unmute you and then you can start again.
Yes, sorry, Luciano. I think you have muted your microphone on the screen. Yes, on the small screen.
Okay,
okay, now perfect. Okay.
Thank you very much. Do you look my presentation? Okay.
Now it's working.
Yeah. Do you?
Okay. Sorry, we can see the presentation, but I think you need to click on sharing the entire screen.
Okay. Okay, so I don't know.
Now, if you can just go to your presentation and then press present, then I think it would be okay.
Yeah. Do you look at my presentation now?
Now, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good morning to everybody. I'm Luciano Malferma. I'm director of the Agency for the Family in Autonomous Province of Trento. I apologize for my bad English, but I will help me with the presentation in the short video at the end. I will talk to you about the economy of saturation, but first I will give you a brief presentation on the policy model adopted by the Autonomous Province. So, Trentino is an autonomous province in the mountains of northern Italy with good performance in terms of employment, social cohesion, and regional competitiveness. Trentino is here. Trentino is a Dolomite region. We live in the mountains. Trentino certainly has birth problems, but it has one of the highest rates in Italy. This is the rates in Italy. We have really in Italy big problem about the natality. Trentino is 1.5 rates about the natality rate. And the Autonomous Province of Trento intends to develop an integrated system of policies in favor of the family in line with the objective of the 2030 agenda and with the triple bottom line model. The triple bottom line model is this. We have to improve policies to throw economic growth, to respect for the environment, the planet. It is important to promote to activity policies for the promotion of citizens and families, the people. And in line with this model, the autonomous province of Trento has developed a system that places the person and the sender of the policies before people. In November 2019, the autonomous province of Trento approved a 5-year strategic plan to promote structural policies in favor of the well-being of families. In Trentino, we have developed this system and with a lot of integrated policies. Some examples are this: 90% of the Trentino population live in a family-friendly municipalities. This is the trend of our adoption of a municipality family-friendly. At the moment, we have fast 100 municipalities family-friendly in Trentino. And another context, very, very important, is this: the 20% of the employees work in companies that have adopted work and life balance plans. The name of the standard is Family Audit. And this is the trend of the joined the companies to this model. Fast 200 companies in Trentino adopted this family plans in the companies. And another strategy is this: almost 1,000 organizations, 30% public and 70% private, have voluntarily joined a family district. I look this our website. Maybe this is the website of Trentino, the autonomous province. You can look in the map of Italy. These points are companies, municipalities, companies, school, museum, and so on, that apply to the family district and working with our administration to promote well-being policies to the people, the local people. Trento is this. You can look 100 organizations joined in the model. This is Trento. And you can look really the big number of companies family-friendly. Okay. It is the trend of the adhesion of these companies to the model. This is the strategic plan. The strategic plan is dated 2019, as our administration approved a strategic and extraordinary plan in favor of family. The big question is the natality of the country, the region. And the plan worked to 5 big issues. The first big economic benefit for the family, work-life balance strategy, the family district model, policies for youth people, the policies for family association and networking. And in this context, we have the concept of saturation of local capital. Okay, this is the question. Local capital, the saturation of local capital, the regional capital, is into this strategic plan of our administration. Economics of saturation. The model promotes the transition to a new economy. This is our question. the first question is the first step is the linear economy. The linear economy involves the processing of a natural resource to produce goods and maximize the profit for the company. During the manufacturing process, waste is produced. The linear economy, the first step. Now we are in this context, the circular economy. In the triple bottom line, you can look, the first goal is the profit, the second is planet, the triple P bottom line. Circular economy, the circular economy, fewer natural resources are used. This is a big question of the sustainable of our economy. The product life cycle is longer and there is less waste and the environment is protected. Economics of saturation is we compare the people. Economic of saturation is a new concept with this model, with the economy of saturation, the possibility of using the existing good or services is maximized. At the center of the policies is the people. The people is really strategic in this question. It allows to increase services for families and citizens without consuming other resources. A service or good is rarely used to its full potential. We can look this. And in the local capital, a part is used of potentially, but a big part is not used. Often the service or good can offer opportunities to families and citizens without increasing the cost of the services. A saturation process must be activated to create social opportunities. And this is the process. The process, we have a part of resources used, another part is not used. So we have to activate this process to increase the part of the local resource not used to offer opportunity to family and citizens. The unused portion of the potential services become an opportunity for the system. This is a big opportunity. Trentino has already applied the economy of saturation on public mobility, on museums sectors, on ski services, and public apartments. Territorial capital. In the capital, in the region, there are large amounts of territorial capital on the territories. The real problem is that we don't have the right glasses to see it. The capital is there, but we don't see it. This is our analysis of the regional capital: swimming pool, cinema, taxi, hotel, other mobility, ski services, school, public transport, public apartment, home. So this is regional capital that is not used over saturation. And with this, in this capital, we have the possibility to create an opportunity for families and citizens. A short video on the application made in Trentino follows. Quindi I ask to Raul to send the video, please.
Saturation economy is a new concept born out of the COVID-19 pandemic. It implies the implementation of policies that increase services to citizens and households at no additional cost by saturating the already existing capital. In Trentino, a number of measures have been implemented in areas such as pricing policies, services, mobility, sport and museums, taking advantage of one of the tools developed and implemented by the Agency for Family, Birth and Youth Policies of the Autonomous Province of Trento, namely the Euregio Family Pass, which offers discounts and price reductions to families. Some examples. Families with the Euregio Family Pass can use public transport if traveling with their underage children and pay just for one single ticket, which can be used for all urban and suburban transport services. This measure has not resulted in additional costs to the public budget, but has saturated an existing service by encouraging families to use public transport. Another example comes from the museum sector. The reduced rate made possible by the Euregio Family Pass enables a family with underage children to have access to museums at the cost of just one discounted ticket. This latter model has also been replicated for the ski slopes in the framework of the Ski Family in Trentino initiative, thanks to which moms and dads ski passes include also the possibility for children to ski for free. A further example is the co-living project, thanks to which vacant public flats are offered to new families who are willing to live in Trentino villages, characterized by depopulation and declining birth rate. The procedure is simple and envisages a 4-year free loan contract with a commitment to play an active role in the social, cultural and economical growth of the community. Currently, a mapping of the existing capital in the territory is underway in order to understand where to implement these saturation measures. These are perfectly in line with the objectives of the 2020 to 2030 agenda, because by working on the existing capital, no further resources are consumed, the environment is protected, and new opportunities and facilities are created for families and for the future of the Trentino community.
So I want to thank Luciano Malfer for his presentation. Unfortunately, he could not join us for any questions today, but I'm sure his presentation gave a lot of insight about how this saturation of economy services could be done via their example. As I mentioned before, we are finishing our day with a panel of young people. So we've spoken a lot about large families in different contexts, whether it's the local and governmental cooperation, whether it's the subjective assessment of well-being, everything that we've spoken about. But now we're looking towards young people who are actually from large families and seeing how they assess their lives and how they assess the situation we are all living in. So welcome to the panel, The Voice of Young People, where we're going to discuss about growing up in a large family and family policies. And for that, we have invited 5 young people who will be joining this virtual stage today. So firstly, we have Chiara Leda. She is 22 years old and comes from Italy. She studies political and social sciences at the University of Turin and is currently doing an internship at ELFAC in Barcelona. So welcome.
Hello everyone. So you said my name is Chiara Leda. I'm 22 and I'm studying political and social sciences at the University of Turin in Italy, but I'm from Sardinia, from Alghero. In this moment, I'm in Barcelona for the Erasmus, and I'm doing this internship in ELFAC. I'm the third of 4 children, and for this reason, I would like to tell you what it means for me to grow up in a large family. First of all, I can say that I was very, very lucky, because my brothers and sister and I do not have many years of difference. So we have shared many, many things since childhood, such as playing all together. I have a wonderful memory of my older sister who organized the adventurous expedition inside the house and the built villages where everyone had their job. We had really, really a lot of fun. Growing up with them, I discovered from the early age the importance of sharing, of compromise. In fact, I can say that I have acquired many problem-solving skills. I also acquired a multitasking ability. Now, in fact, I'm able to hear more people talking at the same time. Meals have always been a good workout in this. The nice thing about having so many siblings is that from an early age, you get used to taking care of others, living in a community, working in a group, and above all, always knowing that you will have many people you can count on at times of difficulties, like really a real team. My older sisters have also taken on a fundamental role in all those are and will be my transition to adult life. Having passed them before me, I always know that I can ask for advice and make even the bigger steps seem achievable because they already did it. So I can do it. Having already started my transition process, I can talk through my experience about what I think will be necessary to support young people in this journey. First of all, I think we need policies that favor the independence of young people and that allow everyone to be able to access a home economically and find a job that enables them to maintain their independence. This also through policies to support families with economic difficulties in order to allow everyone the same opportunities. When asked what a family friendliness means for young people, I can say that, like for everyone, it means the adoption of measures that promote the well-being of family. Furthermore, measures that go to oppose the fear of creating a family and having many children, which today I can say is preponderant because the disadvantages are too great. So I'm speaking about measures like family work reconciliation, policies for achieve adequate work, and adequate housing, equality in access to education, and much more. The data of a research of the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and the UPB, the Parliamentary Budget Office, speak from themselves. In Italy, the average age of young Italians who remain in their home to be helped by families and feel less about the crisis is 30.1 years in 2017. Furthermore, since there are no housing policies to support young couples, young people cannot carry out their life plans in starting an autonomous family. So as a young people, what I expect from my local government is that it pays more attention to youth policies because family policies are not already considered a priority in Italy. Having a child, in fact, is the second cause of poverty for families after the loss of the job of one of the members of the family unit, despite the fact that the family creates and is the basis of the society. But youth policies, even fewer, are taken into consideration. So this is like my call for my government. And thank you so much for the invitation and nothing.
Thank you, Chiara, for this introduction on your part. Secondly, we have German Hunt. German is 20 years old and he's the first year student, university student majoring in history at the University of Tallinn. He is a musician as well, plays trombone and does a lot of other extracurricular activities. In addition to that, he has also served his time in the military of Estonia for 8 months in October 2019. So German, perhaps a quick introduction from your side.
Yeah, thank you for having me, first of all. I really appreciate the effort you put into making things better for other people. What can I say about myself? Actually, I think I'm quite an active person. Plus, I really appreciate the whole idea of helping other people out, helping people who are in need and who need help from organizations or people who just are more helpful and goodwill. Also, a little bit about myself. As a 20-year-old, I'm not that experienced in life, but I really want to broaden my horizons and grow as a person. So being a part of these organizations and these youth organizations overall is my intent in the future. And I really actually want to be a part of a group or a organization that helps people. Thus, coming to the questions that I already received. What does it mean for me to be part of a large family is actually being a part of a somewhat organization or a somewhat of a group who always has your back and you can rely on them. So being a part of a family is actually like being a part of something that you didn't ask, but you actually really love. So it's like being a part of something bigger than yourself, which inadvertently gives you the privilege of doing your own part in helping other people out.
Thank you, German, for this introduction from your point as well. Next, we have Dolce Franco Frazzo. She is 24 years and comes from Portugal. So thank you for joining us. She is working as a content specialist at Nestle Business Services, also has a master's and bachelor's degree in communication sciences from the University of Nova in Lisbon. And generally, she's deeply interested in family-related topics. So we welcome you, and also a few words on your part.
Thank you. So as I've already been introduced, I'm Dulce. I grew up also in a large family. We are 5, 2 sisters, and I have 2 sisters and 2 brothers. And I'm getting married soon in May. Hopefully, I will have a large family of my own as well. And I'll be available to answer any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Then also we welcome Arturs Boravois, who is 19 years old and comes to us from Latvia. He has graduated from high school and is preparing to enter the Latvian Academy of Culture. Also, he is also a large member or an active member in Large Family Association and helps to create activities for family. So welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Arturs. I'm 19 years old. And I grew up in a large family. I'm the oldest brother in the family. I have 2 younger sisters and 1 younger brother. So for me, I grew up in the countryside. So my childhood went very fun. From the young age, I remember that my parents could come to me after some 2 or 3 years and say, Arturs, prepare. We're having another family member in months, so you have to find the 3rd job. Okay, I'm just kidding, but like it was funny for me. I learned how to take care of my younger brother and sisters. How to nurse them, how to find some compromises, and I'm really happy that you invited me to represent Latvia, and I'm open to answer for your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Arturs. And last but not least, Teresa Krubska. She is 21 years old and comes from Poland. She studies early school education and is a member of the Youth for Plus, a youth section of the Association of Large Families 3+, which supports youth from large families and promotes a positive image of the family institution. She's also a leader of a scout team for young girls. So welcome, Teresa, and a quick introduction from you as well.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me to participate in this conference. It's very nice to see you. Yeah, so as you said, I'm 21 years old. I came from Poland. I have 5 older brothers and 1 sister. I'm the youngest in my family. And I remember that when I was little, my brothers and sister had to replace my parents when they were busy. So they had definitely big impacts on my raising. Yeah, and I grew up in little town, Grodzisk Mazowiecki, which is a very beautiful town. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. So some of you already mentioned some of the great aspects of being from a large family, of personal traits that you've acquired through that, experiences that you've had. However, as in life, there's always a flip side. So in addition to the opportunities and possibilities that you have mentioned, how would you describe what are the challenges of being from a large family? Perhaps, Teresa, you can give your insight first.
I think there are more opportunities than challenges in being in a large family. As I said, the opportunity is that in large family you can learn the responsibility. My siblings were teachers for me. They taught me how to draw. They accompanied me in games. So they definitely had a big impact on my raising. And I could also observe their mistakes and remember not to do certain things that might set my parents off. I could also be a participant and observer of many relationships, both cooperation, as well as conflict situation when we were competing with each other. But for me, the challenge is that I had many different models to follow, and I needed to create my own and be different from others in large group. But now we are adults and we are still together. We can support each other, spend time together as a group of friends. Most importantly, we drawn to each other. We like to meet together and we can rely on each other.
German, same question to you. What do you feel are the biggest challenges? While of course probably the opportunities and possibilities are larger and greater, challenges probably still exist. Do you agree?
I agree. Plus, to add on to the question, being a part of a family of 5, I can tell that as being a middle child and having 2 elder siblings, the challenges for me have been, because I'm actually quite ambitious, is to scale up to my older siblings, because if they are being successful, then that means I have to be successful, because we are all like part of the same family. And that is one of the challenges. If being an ambitious person is that you have to really, yes, you can rely on your siblings and stuff, but the competition is still there to be a part of their success, or to be better or worse than them. So that's like the main challenge, but it's quite friendly and it's quite like supportive of them to actually help you achieve your goals. So that's the main challenge. If I have to think about this question a lot more, yeah, I can. Yeah, there's nothing I can add right now, because that's the first thought that came to my mind was the ambition.
So Artur, you being the youngest of the bunch here, how would you comment on what specifically you get from being a large family as opposed to someone, for example, like myself, who have no siblings, unfortunately?
Oh, don't worry. Some people might think that you're a lucky person, but not for me. For me, speaking that I grew in Latvia, the biggest benefits were that it's never boring. You're always having a good time. We went to the same school, so you have lots of friends, especially for my younger siblings. Like they know my friends, I know their friends, so we like you're never alone. So as the guest mentioned, you can learn and improve your kindness and sharing skills. That really helps you in life. And also in Latvia, we have this thing the 3+ card. It's a special large family card that gives you many discounts. For example, 90% discount on public transport. Like that's a really good benefit. Like discounts in museums, bookstores, theaters, and etc. Because there are other side of being a big, large family in Latvia, because you have to face the difficulties like financial problems. It's difficult to have your own space sometimes, and there could be some tough times because parents have to struggle, go to work to support you financially when you're going to school. So, but mostly it's good from my opinion to grow up in a large family. Thank you.
So as Artur's also mentioned the financial difficulties, most of you are at the age where you're done with your education, you're moving on to a higher education or already have moved on. Quite often moving into higher education and leaving home means that quite many of the benefits that local municipalities or states in different countries are providing to families, they sort of end. But quite often the financial commitments that families need to overtake are actually larger from that point on. Chiara, if you can comment on your experience, how do you think this puts large families, what kind of position it puts large families into? And do you think the benefits and measures that, for example, local municipalities have for those situations, are they enough?
Okay, the first thing that I can say is that for sure being part of a large family in this sense put us in a little disadvantage, but only why I don't know, all the searches of the families has to be divided by the children in the families. So I don't know, from the early age in my experience when I had to start my university, I saw, instead of the other young people that I know, the other my friends, I had more to be independent and to find also a way for maintain myself at the same time. Because if my parents had to pay the university to everyone, it was a bit a problem because we are 4. But the thing that I can say is that in my case, I was lucky because, for example, in Italy, is like in every region, we have like I don't know to say, like a public authority for the director for the right of education. So for that, I have like a scholarship and I have the possibility to stay in a house for free and this kind of things. But this is possible only in the region when I study. In the others, there isn't like, there are other public authority, but are not like all with the same benefits. So I can say also in this from this thing that it will be necessary like a measure of this type in a national level, because if I didn't have this opportunity with this public authority, maybe I wouldn't have the possibility to study outside my city. And I don't know, this is also a challenge to be a lot of people in the family, that you can't only think like a singular, because everyone has to be the same opportunities, everyone has to make their life, so it's also that.
So Dolce, how do you comment on that? What was your experience of leaving home? You're already a bit older, that was a bit longer time ago for you perhaps, but what is your experience? Do you think the benefits and measures, support mechanisms that the state, local municipalities or sometimes universities are providing, do you think they're enough?
What I can, okay.
Sorry, I think you're muted and you need to unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. So on my case, I did not receive family like a support on education and all of that, but I did go into a public university, so the costs are already more affordable for a student. What I can say in terms of what it would be a family, what family friendliness would mean in terms of political, economic, and social policies would be, and I am going to reply more on the stage where I am right now, working instead of studying, but it would be for the states to ensure a good maternity and paternity leave. I know this depends a lot on the country. So, for example, in Portugal, it is for a woman 4 to 6 months. Of maternity leave and 1 month for paternity leave, but in other countries like Germany and France, it can be up to 2 years for a mother to stay at home with kids, and this helps a lot because kindergartens are super expensive. So, for example, in terms of employment, this would be this is a supportive measure for families. And also in terms of employment and career, there might be some discrimination in a lot of companies in the public or private sector. If you are a woman and you are young and you want to have kids, that can be socially seen as some kind of a challenge to your career. So it would also be a good measure to have more companies aware of how important and possible it is for a woman to combine these two roles as a mother and as an excellent professional. So in a nutshell, these are my thoughts on this.
So, Teresa, coming to you as you also being a woman and probably at one point facing the similar difficulties or challenges, how would you comment from your experience and your country background, these sort of unification of these different roles and different expectations?
You are saying about supporting young people in the journey to moving into personal life?
Yes, and several challenges wherever your personal life might take you.
I can generally say what is the situation in Poland. Actually, on the labor market, it's not good because the availability of housing in our country are very important for young people, especially because of the lack of 2 million apartments. 34% young Poles aged 25 to 34 live with their parents. And now the epidemic worsened this situation on the labor market and led to inability to apply for a loan. But a good thing is that the Polish government plans to introduce a program to support the purchase of housing for young people. But the details aren't known yet. We'll find it out in a month. So I think especially housing programs are important for young people. It's also important that in Poland from 2019, employees up to 26 years don't have to pay tax. And about family friendliness, I can say that I think this is definitely these housing programs, less tax burden and openness in the labor market to young workers. And as it was already said, I think that extending maternity leave is also part of this. In Poland, we have only 1 year. We would like to have 3 years, but we will see.
So German, you being a first year student, and being from a large family, do you think you are supported enough? Should you be supported more? And if so, who should be the actor that supports you in general?
To be quite honest, as a first-year student in a university, I think I'm very well off because due to my upbringing and due to the fact that my whole family encouraged a independent lifestyle for a lot of its children. For example, yes, we are supportive towards each other, but at the same time, we try to be independent enough so that we can hold our own weight. So, for example, being a first year in a university, I think that I'm actually getting along quite fine. I don't particularly need a lot of support from outside sources, but I think that many people that are not in my shoes may well need, and organizations and resources that may be of need could come from other organizations that are tied to families, or even the help of students in the university, which is also made prominent by the university, the institutions, and all of that. That's my two thoughts about that.
So, Arturs, you are in the process of leaving home, and what is your experience, and perhaps the situation in Latvia, as we've heard from other examples as well? What is yours?
In Portugal?
Well, I'm sorry?
Yeah, let's go with Arturs first and then go to Dolce.
Okay, from my experience, for me, I already left home, and right now, this free year, I'm working. So for the large families, starting from this year, they are paying for you if you want to go to study after high school. So I think that's a very big plus. Also, we have lots of free from the Latvian budget sponsored educational programs, so you don't have to pay. So they are trying to invite young people to study, to make the country better. My local government, they provide the you can rent flat if you live in I can rent my own flat in my own state. The government gives me this opportunity, so I think that's a big plus too, because I live in a house with the 3 rooms, and if you have inside there 2 parents and 4 children, that could be a very big challenge with the space. So right now, when I'm working and I want to study, I will have my own space, and I think that's a very great deal. Also, you can rent a student flat in Latvia, and that's a very great deal too. Thank you.
Thank you, Arturs. So, Dolce, you were saying about Portugal.
Yes, in Portugal, the real estate market is actually very expensive comparing to the salaries for the average salaries of Portuguese people. So either buying a house or renting a house is super expensive. That's why we youngsters really rely on government and municipal programs to support on house renting. So this is like quite a challenge for us right now, and I know that a lot of young people in Portugal need to are only able to get out of their parents' house later in life due to this monetary question, and this is quite of a challenge. Also, people that are working, for example, in a more precarious job, like in the cultural sector or artists, they can be able to only live alone in their own apartment when they are 35. So this is quite a challenge, and I think that one of the agents that could have a really important role to play here would be the government and the municipalities. And so this is one point, the economic part. And the other point, I can share just a personal experience from this transition thing of leaving a large family and starting to live alone, which is when I was 18. I did a gap year, so I left my home for 1 year, and it was super important to have my family's support on this decision. So yes, this kind of question that Teresa mentioned earlier on the challenges of growing up in a large family, when you have to be your build your own personality individually, and it is difficult to decide where to go when you have like these really strong roots. And it is on as family, as agents, as an agent, I think it is really important also to provide this atmosphere of freedom to allow the children to go out of the house whenever they are ready to do it.
So as you guys being here as examples of large family members and children from large families, and this convention is focusing on how to create a better environment for large families to raise children. We do, however, have an interesting question coming from the audience. So perhaps I'll direct this to Chiara first. The question is, how do other young people react to the information that you are from a large family, and whether in your experience that perception has been positive or negative?
So I can say that the first thing that I say when I say to my friends, to the people that I meet, that I come from a large family, and I say the number, and I can say we are 4 children. I can say in large families we are like the smaller type of family, and the people, when I said it, it's also surprise. Like they say, oh, so many people. And another thing that the people usually say, if they are older, they say like, oh, there wasn't the television at your home because like your mother and your father didn't have time to watch the television. These kind of things. But and another thing is like they always ask how is possible for my family, like having so many children, to at the I can say, at the financial point of view of do this thing. They can't understand how they can do it to maintain a family of a lot of children. From the financial point of view, usually the questions are these kind of questions, because on the national level there isn't a lot of support for children and for have many children. So maybe it's also for that the people usually ask, because it's always a challenge to choose to have a lot of children.
German, your experience.
My experience when describing my family to a friend or a person that I just met, their first reaction is, so many people, like your family is so big. How was it growing up and everything like that? But when the first impression wears off and I actually introduce my family to them, like introducing my brother and my mom and every person that makes up the family, then they understand, because every person that is in my family, every family member, every sibling, they're actually quite ambitious, they're quite successful, and they actually like do things together. For example, my whole family has a tradition that every 3 years we take a family photo and we upload the family photo and we frame it, and it's really, really cute, the tradition, and the people seem to look at a photo, and then they realize that, wow, you can actually see that the family is doing really great. Every person that it lives in this family is actually really positive, no negativity, and then their reaction and their thoughts about the family actually shifts. Like there is this negative tone before, or this uncertainty when you describe your family. But after they get to know your family, they see the bigger picture that you see every day.
So some of you already have mentioned them here before in our discussion, and some of you also are members of some youth active sort of possibilities, or possibilities where you can also promote values and promote concepts that are important to you. So, for example, Teresa, you being a member of the Youth for Plus association, what motivates you doing that? Why do you do that?
I think the image of large families are not so good in Poland. Sometimes people look at large families and say that they are from alcoholic families, or they are poor people. So we would like in our society make a positive view of family and aim together young people from these families to make a great place for them, to make workshops, conferences about the political topics. Yeah.
Arturs, you also are an active member of a large family association. What motivates you?
Yeah, thank you for your question. I think my motivation is that I want to help the people to understand that having a family is not that bad. And in Latvia, here's now a trend. I would say that young people like my age, they already have a formed family with their partner, like with the kid. So they have to have some image about what how they can grow into a normal, like happy family without having problems. So I really enjoy talking and sharing ideas of how to improve your family social skills, how to impact with the children, what to say to them, for them to grow a good people. So that's my motivation.
And thank you. So as we're reaching the end of this panel, unfortunately, I have just one last quick question for all of you. So you come from large families. This is part of who you are, and you've mentioned several, for me, very envious aspects of coming from large families. When you envision your future, do you also envision a large family there? Perhaps, Dolce, you can start, as you mentioned that you're getting married soon.
Yes. Actually, life is super mysterious, and I have no idea if we will be able to have a large family, but that is definitely our desire. Me coming from a family of 5 kids, my fiance coming from a family of 8 kids, and yes, definitely, I would love to have one.
So, Chiara, your future, do you think large family is important for you, or do you think in generally promoting these values is important to you as well?
I can say that I will love to have a large family. In fact, when people ask to me what type of family I want to have in the future, I always say minimum 3 children. I can't imagine to live in a silent house, really, after my experience. And also because I know how it's important and it's beautiful to grow up with brothers and sisters.
Thank you. Arturs, what do you think about your future?
Yeah, thank you. You know, I have no idea how many children I will have. Will I have a large family? Will I have like 1 or 2 children only? But I think that that doesn't depend. I will try to give my best to my children, to my family. Either it would be a small or big one. Just the time will come, and I will see.
Thank you, German.
Think about the question a lot more. I have to agree with the fact that that has always been said, that I can't imagine a family or a house that doesn't have any children screaming or being happy. Like to me, even where I live, if there are like no people living in it, then it's quite weird to me. I'm so used to it, and so that's the reason that I think that if the time comes, and when it comes, I will most surely do my part in having a family, at least with 2 or 3 kids. Therefore, I can condole all the things that when I grew up, my family, they were a role model to me. So they got to say a lot of things to me. So when I grow up and become a father figure, there's a lot of things that I would want to change and I want to contribute as myself. So yeah, I would most definitely be a part of a large family in the future.
Thank you, German. And Teresa, you have the opportunity to conclude.
Oh, I think we will see, but I have also a positive view about a big family. I think it depends on my future husband, but I'm open for it. And for me, the most important is the love inside of the marriage and in the family, not a number, but I'm open for it. Yeah.
Thank you. I very much enjoyed meeting all of you. I think your ideas of being or coming from a large family and your viewpoint on that is very enlightening, especially to me, but I'm sure to everyone. And if you see the comment section, you've received a lot of praise. I think especially answering my very personal final question, I think all of you managed to give very excellent answers about the unknown and the future and how you vision things to come for you. So thank you. I think you've given us great insights and thank you for your time and joining us here today. We, with this panel, are concluding our first day of our convention of the European Convention of Family-Friendly Municipalities, especially titled this year, Moving Towards Family-Friendly Europe. I hope you've gained some insight from today. We've started the day off with local and governmental cooperation and support and partnership and how that develops and what are the necessary measures. And speaking about the Estonian example, we also talked about the subjective well-being of families and saw several aspects of how the subjective well-being is measured and how it's a new topic, but it's already giving insight to how municipalities can act and how they can form policies to support large families and move towards family-friendly municipalities. We also heard about several sort of recommendation and works that municipalities can abide by or use as recommendation, with the example of, for example, the handbook of sustainable developmental goals, and also had an example of one municipality that has found a way to have better policies that affect and have real impact on families without actually having economic costs. So hopefully those ideas you can take with you from today. And of course, our conclusion with the young people and their insights of actually coming from a family that we are focused on this convention. But don't worry, we have a full day packed for you tomorrow. So hopefully you will join us again via either the Facebook Live or the YouTube Live. We will be back there tomorrow and look at more specific best practices coming from family-friendly municipalities and moving towards family-friendly Europe. My name is Kristin. I will welcome you back here tomorrow. Enjoy your day and be healthy, and see you tomorrow.